Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Let's Talk Ghosts. And today we're talking about a episode that we discovered on the DiscoveryPlus app. And it's called The Yorkshire Exorcist. And this is about Ian Lawman, who is in the Help My House is Haunted series. He's been in several series, Ghost Chasers, and a few others over the years. So we watched this today. It's about an hour long, I think. Eh?
Yeah.
And at first, what I thought we were getting was a documentary about this guy. At least a little bit of it, how he came about and got, his exorcism credentials and so on and so forth. Well, we didn't get any of that. What we got...
Well, you got a little bit.
Not much. What we got was an actual episode of an exorcism that he did. And it was very interesting.
Yeah.
It opens up with a clip of the exorcism itself. So it was very dramatic. And then he goes into talking briefly and says that he was ordained in 2014. I don't know who he was ordained by because he never says. I mean, I don't believe it's the Catholic Church because he doesn't wear a collar and stuff. But he does do the Father, Son, Holy Spirit thing that Catholics do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any other faith that does that.
Well, they all do.
I mean, not that it matters as far as exorcisms and stuff go. Yeah. I mean, truly, it's whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your faith tells you to do that makes you comfortable to do. And that obviously works for him. And I think it's the symbolism, too.
Yeah.
This is a symbol that demons and dark entities know. Yeah. You're making the sign of the cross, right?
Yeah.
So, but he never does say, really, where he's got his ordainship from. So that was kind of the stuff I was hoping to find out. But didn't happen. Anyway, it starts off... with an interview by the woman, Michelle, who is the one that is got the issue. And I'm not going to call her possessed at this point, because at this point of the show, we don't know if she's possessed or what's going on. Anyway, she goes on to say she's tired, drained, she's anxious all the time, she has nightmares. And my first thought was, this sounds like a classic person with depression, those symptoms. Those are what you would go to your doctor to say, hey, this is what's going on, and your doctor's going to give you antidepressants. She says that she went to see her physician. She didn't say when or how long ago, but I think it was recent.
Yeah.
Maybe when she discovered she was going to be meeting Ian, maybe. I don't know. That might have been one of the things he told her to do, or the show told her to do, that she needed to have a clean bill of health before they would do anything further. And so physically, she says that the nurse that did it all, so I'm assuming nurse practitioner, said that she was healthy. So yes. That's good, because, what they're going to do in an exorcism isn't exactly the most healthiest of things, so just as well. Yeah. She also goes on to say that, she's been pushed down the stairs twice. Once she thought she'd broken her arm, it was that bad. And another, she showed a picture of a scar, a cut over her eye where she was bleeding. And obviously it was cut pretty deep and needed stitches. She talked about another episode where she had a cut underneath her chin and there was blood everywhere. And she can't remember how that one happened. It just was one of those...
Lost time.
Yeah, she lost a lot of time. For various things. And she's had trouble for about 16 years. Yeah. Started slowly, and it's getting worse. And she really views this meeting with Ian as her last resort.
Yeah. So. And she even wrote him a letter.
Yeah. So he meets her first, and I thought it was interesting that he said in the car, he says, one of two things is going to happen when I go in. He said the first thing is she's going to open the door and smile and be happy to see me and let me in. And the second, she's going to open the door and she's not going to make eye contact. She's going to be kind of standoffish, and, we'll go from there. And that's exactly what happened. She opened the door. She kind of smiled at first, and then she took a couple steps back. And he said, "You don't want to get too close to me." And she says, "I don't know why, but no, I don't. But she let him in. Yeah. And then they had a little chat. And she wouldn't make eye contact. She just didn't want to. I mean, she did very briefly.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Glances.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Not eye contact.
Yeah, she glanced at him. And so probably not full-on eye contact, but enough to see where he's at. And then he tried to give her a St. Benedict medallion thingy. Mm-hmm. And she held it for like 3 seconds or something and kind of, nope, I don't want to hold it. And then he put it on the sofa beside her, and she just kind of looked at it, and she looked at it, and she's, and then she actually physically moved herself away from it.
Yeah.
So at that point, he said he knew something was going on because her behavior wasn't what it should be. One of the things he said he wanted to do was to set up cameras all through the house because he wanted to have a 4-hour observation time just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. I thought that was very smart.
Yeah.
Because how do you know what you're dealing with? You go in blind. You're just going in by what people say.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can trust that, and sometimes you can't.
Yeah. People lie.
Yeah, oh yeah. Anything to get on TV, right? Now, some of it, I wondered as I was watching some of the things that they showed, where she's telling it, "Go away, leave me alone." And I wondered if she actually did that when she was alone without cameras, or if she was just doing it now because she knew the cameras were on.
Well, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Could be a little of both. I mean, she knows something's not right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that stood out to me. I thought, is that authentic, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
Or is she doing that because she knows the cameras are there?
Yeah. Could
be. So while that was going on, he went to interview the husband. Remember they were standing in...
Yeah.
This is the first glance that the husband is disabled. Now, I wonder if he had polio when he was younger or something, because he's got 2, walking crutches.
He didn't have a limp.
No.
I was watching for a limp.
Yeah, it was almost like they were there just for
balance
or something like that. Like they were obviously the kind that have the handles on to hold on. They didn't seem to be the kind that you would use for walking. But who knows, Maybe he has moments where he's weaker than others. And the reason I'm mentioning that is they didn't sit down. They were standing. So obviously standing wasn't a problem for him. Because if you were disabled and had...
lean on here.
Yeah, you could lean on it. But, I would have thought, let's go sit down somewhere. You're walking on crutches. Let's go sit down somewhere. But they didn't. So he interviews, and then I guess they've been together for about 18 years. And it was about 2 years into the relationship that things started to change for her, because the attachment was for 16 years.
Yeah, but her son looks about 16 too, so...
Well, she's got a daughter too that they didn't show. Yeah. So, and that could be why they showed the son, because he's older, whereas the daughter is younger, and how people don't want their youngest to be shown on TV sometimes. I don't know. Anyway, the husband, Andy, gave Ian 2 certificates from the kids from the school. They're Pupil of the Week certificates and stuff. Yeah, achievement certificates. And then a picture of her and him in a frame from their younger years when they were both, fairly new and fresh and happy. And these were items that Ian was going to use if necessary during the exorcism, things that were important to her. Yeah. And he ended up using them. Mm-hmm. At this point, though, this is also when he gave him the letter that you referenced earlier. Yeah. And there was a handwritten letter from Michelle to Ian that Andy said he hadn't read. Mm-hmm. He wasn't allowed to read it. It was a personal letter. And so Ian took it and immediately felt overwhelmed with something. Like he literally did that. And he said he would read it, when he was alone, if that's okay. And Andy said, yes, that's okay. And so he took it back with him to his car after the interview and read it. And we didn't get the whole letter. We just got a couple clips out of it. And I guess it was quite emotional for him. You know, basically she was saying that he's her last resort. Yeah. Her last resort. So, and then, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on prior to the exorcism. So after this, he goes and meets with a demonologist. His name is Ben Winfield, basically for a consult to get some information and ideas and stuff. And they talk about it. And the demonologist figures that it's some kind of an elemental that she probably picked up somewhere. It could be for a walk or whatever. And this elemental is needing her basically like a battery. It's sucking all her energy out. So especially while she's sleeping, sucking all her energy. And this is why it's trying to isolate her, trying to drive a wedge between her and her family, which it's been succeeding. She was saying that if this exorcism didn't work, she was going to have to leave her family because she was worried about them, about what could happen. Yeah. And that, he says, is what this elemental or dark entity wants, is to have her all to himself, or itself, I should say. And that way it can suck all the energy it wants out of her, and she'll be okay with that because, you know, she'd be all alone with it eventually. So they talked a fair bit, and at this point they believe that it's an attachment, not a full-blown possession at this point, but the window was closing. He said the window is closing and we don't have much time. Yeah, then more stuff goes on, and Ian meets up with Jane Harris. Now, Jane Harris, we know, does the Help My House is Haunted. She also does stuff on Unexplained, Caught on Camera. She's the redhead lady. She's pretty. Anyway, with a really great funky accent, that really twangy British accent. Anyway, he meets her, I think, in a pub. I think that's probably where they've met. They're talking. He's telling her about the case. And then he asks her if she would like to come help. And she says yes, she would be very happy to come help because this lady obviously needs help. So they go and meet up with Michelle at her house. Now, all this time, she's all alone. There's no family, nobody around. And I always found that interesting because every other show we've seen, they always have family member or somebody around to help. Yeah. And so I kind of felt this was a lot more authentic than made up for, you know, ratings and stuff. This is a documentary, obviously. Yeah. But it was different. It was different. I don't know if this is the way exorcism should be done. Usually there's, I don't know, more holy people around. I don't know. Anyway, I just found it interesting that she's, I don't know, she's on her own by herself. So the only people in this house are Ian, Jane, and the camera people. Yeah. And Jane wants to try to do an EVP session to see if she can capture any spirits or whatever that's in the house, you know, catch an EVP session.
The only thing that I didn't, and I was disappointed that we didn't find out who the demon was.
No. And,
you know, and that seemed odd.
Well, I don't...
No, it just seemed odd because all of a sudden it just went away. But
we haven't even got to talking about the exorcism yet, so...
Well...
So anyway, back to what was happening with Jane. They don't capture anything on the recorder. And the woman, Michelle, starts to kind of smirk. And I thought this was cute, actually. Then that's when Ian says, "Oh, you're smirking. Are you happy that we didn't catch you? We don't know who you are yet." And she kind of giggles. And she says in her head, that's what she's thinking. You don't know who I am. Yeah. And she's right. Then Ian gets up and starts moving around behind the sofa behind her. And did you see how she kept kind of moving? She's watching him and she's trying to move away. She didn't want him near her. I thought that was interesting. Some of those reactions, like, I think they were fairly authentic.
Yeah.
They didn't feel forced or made up.
Doesn't, but,
I mean, you never know. These are all made for TV, so how forced and fake are some of these? Yeah. But these felt good. They felt like they were real. Yeah. They seemed real. So that was good. And then the exorcism came along, and it had some very dramatic moments. And I'm sure we didn't see all of it because it happened very quickly, 10 minutes maybe, and it was over. And I don't know if that's normal for a real exorcism. No. My comment to you was, there's exorcism and there isn't even any chairs levitating or anything. Because that's always what you see. The chairs are levitating and the screaming and the writhing on the floor and stuff. And she got some of that.
Where's the pea soup?
Yeah. So it was a different exorcism from what we've seen in other shows.
Yeah.
And like you said, we never got the name of the entity.
And it just seems...
Yeah, it just kind of vanished. But, maybe it's not a demon. If it was an elemental, as we said, we're not going to get that you have to know our name to get rid of us thing.
Even elemental.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen...
It was enjoyable.
It was different. And they did show her, obviously this entity fighting. It didn't want to be made to leave. And then suddenly it released her. And it was quite a dramatic thing. Throwing the holy water around in the prayers and all this stuff. I mean, it was good. And then they had the meeting in the next morning where she was obviously feeling better. She was smiling. She, introduced her. Hi, I'm Michelle. She introduced herself. And she gave Ian a hug and stuff and even told him he was good looking, which made him blush. It was cute. And then they had a 3-week later video follow-up where they called in to say how things were going. All in all, I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It was different from some of the other exorcism type programs that you see out there. League of Exorcism. Oh, jeez. Well, you don't see the exorcisms there.
Yeah, no, because you don't need one. I can do one from afar.
I can do one from afar. Yeah. Anyway, but this was good. I really enjoyed it. It's not, like I said, it's not what I expected that we would see. I truly expected that I was watching a documentary with clips of exorcisms and stuff in there. But no, this was an actual case from start to finish. And it was very well done. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
So did Pickles.
Yeah, Pickles enjoyed it too. I was surprised to see Jane Harris as a cameo in there. But that's just Pickles whining over there. Oh, it's a good thing he's waking up just as we're done. So yeah, this was good. I enjoyed it. So definitely something I would watch again because it was interesting.
They make any more?
Yeah, I'm hoping that they would, but we'll have to see, I suppose. But I would watch this episode again just to see if I missed anything the first time around. Because you get so focused on what's going on that you miss some of the little nuances. So yeah, I would certainly watch this again. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it for today, folks. This was the Yorkshire Exorcist, which is Ian Lawman, and it is on DiscoveryPlus. I'll link to it if you want to go find it. Nice. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in this great wide world.
Happy hunting.
Happy hunting. Bye now.